Here you go, your worship, we're live.
Thank you, everybody. Good evening. My apologies for joining in such a manner. I had hoped to be there tonight as we did reschedule so that we could all attend, and I had some truck issues, so here I am. I would like to start us off by saying that this is a regular meeting for March 22nd, 2022. I don't believe we have any amendments to the agenda, so if I could have a motion to adopt the agenda.
One amendment, if possible, in-camera issue.
Is it a legal matter, Thomas, or a liability, or is it a labor issue?
It's more, depends how you look at it. It's the housing situation matter.
Okay, well, it wouldn't technically have to be an in-camera issue. Do you want, did you?
I'd like to add it to the agenda then.
Do we have any supporting documents to that, Thomas? It would be nice if that would have been known before. But where would you like that as a?
Bring it up an open forum too.
Council open forum will work.
Okay, sounds good. So we don't need an amendment for that.
I'll make a motion to adopt the agenda.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Councillor Hanchar, and thank you, Councillor Paquette. Moving right along, can I get a motion to adopt the minutes from the Committee of the Whole meeting of March 1st, 2022?
Make a motion to adopt those minutes. A second.
I just had one thing that I noticed quickly. Where the heck was it? Sorry. It was a date thing in the CAO report, I think. It says February 7th and 8th. I wasn't sure if that was correct or not. Because this meeting took place after that.
I'm just looking for my.
And
No, it's not in the CAO report.
it was, yeah, on page 2 in the first paragraph.
It is, yeah.
Is it?
Yep.
Oh, sorry, right there, minute. Oh, right there, I missed that. There, it's, projects. Back. On February 7th and 8th. We're back in town on February 7th and 8th. Or sorry.
Oh, okay, because it says will
It
be.
should be March. You're right.
Okay.
I'm wrong, sorry, that is March 7th and 8th.
Okay, and I think that was it for me.
Yeah, sorry, your worship, I missed that because we actually did stuff with them on February 7th and 8th as well, so.
Okay. That's all for me, thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Hanchar. Anything else? So all in favor? Carried. Motion to pay the open payables in the amount of $218,647.63.
I'll make a motion to pay the open payables in the amount of $218,647.63.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Thank you, Councillor Paquette. Thank you, Councillor Hanchar. Any questions?
Not for me.
All in favor?
Just one sec.
Mr. Manager.
What is 60278?
60270.
278.
278.
Yeah.
That is the holdback for the completion of the roofing contract for the Northern Light Center.
Accounts payable. Okay.
And sorry, I think it's cut off on my thing, but I think it's 60295.
295.
Now Ion Kachika Construction.
Yes, that is a combination of snow removal costs and repairs.
283, that I'm assuming that's the same thing.
Eight.
Chica,
Sorry,
283, I'm
8283.
assuming it's the same thing, hauling of
Yes.
snow and stuff like
Snow-
that.
All the snow removal, yes.
No snow.
And there's more of those to come.
That's fine.
Any more questions?
No.
All in favor? Carried. Okay. I have 3A visa purchases.
Oh, I assume those are,
That was part of the payables.
Yeah, okay. And number 4. Do we have residents of Tintina Way for the sewer
Yes.
infrastructure issues?
Yes, your worship, we have in the gallery, we have Rick Harder. Appears to be the only one on from Tintina Way residents.
Okay. As a delegation, I guess we can ask if they'd like to speak on behalf. Rick?
Rick, you're still muted. Rick, you're still muted.
can't you just unmute him?
There.
Host.
Oh,
Yeah,
there
is
he
that
is.
better?
there you go.
Yeah, there you are.
Technologically inept.
Well, you made it.
So we wrote a letter to council and about the issues with the sewer system on Tintina Way. Cam has informed us that that project has funding and that it will be replaced. I guess the second issue that I raised in the letter was what I wanted to address this evening. And that was the monies that individual residents have spent on frozen sewer steaming. Because it was a result of the freeze up in the main, we feel like it should be something that's covered by the town.
Is that all you'd like to add, Rick?
Yeah.
Okay. Appreciate the time for bringing us this letter. And like Cam has mentioned, we are looking at some infrastructure work regarding water and sewer and the final stage of roads, which is exciting. It's a long term, I think there's many phases to this work. We're hoping to have that done. We could also discuss the issue of the freeze ups at individuals' houses. However, I think it's pretty clearly stated in the bylaw, but we'd have to revisit that, of course. I don't think if council has anything they'd like to add to that those comments.
I feel that if the freeze ups are in the main and private citizens have incurred costs as a result of our freeze ups, that we should reimburse them for said money spent. Is my opinion.
Anybody else have comments they'd like to add?
Is this the only opportunity we're gonna have to discuss this?
I don't believe so, Councillor Hanchar. I think that we can definitely revisit it. It would probably be worth looking into the bylaw and seeing that, making sure that there's some clarity around it, because if it is a continuing thing, then it maybe should be something we revisit and structure, so it's not a one-time thing.
And I guess my other question is for Cam, CAO, can you confirm that this is in fact due to a fault
County.
on our infrastructure.
That is something that I'll have to get an admin report for your worship from our utilities department. And, are we talking this year or are we talking historically over a time period? That's some clarity that I think that we need to know as well.
So for the time being, I think like we can tell the delegation that we will definitely look into this issue. And if we feel that it was, they need to be reimbursed, then we'll definitely reach out to them. But without some clarity on our bylaw and the actual reasoning, we should table the discussion.
I would look forward to a future conversation about this for sure.
So do you need any more information from us?
I think we have everything we need, Rick. And if there's something else we need, as maybe as much as what you've paid for all your services, right? During that time for anybody that's come to fix frozen lines due to town infrastructure failure, right? And we can definitely reach out if need be, but we just want to get some clarity from the administration and make sure that we follow it up properly. And going forward, make sure we have a process in place that, we can recover costs for individuals that have the same issue.
Okay, that sounds fair.
Okay.
The other question that I had is, what is the time frame with regard to the replacement project?
Your worship, do you want? Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah,
Your
go ahead, Cam. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Your worship, Tina Way is the only in-ground infrastructure replacement that we have scheduled for this year. It's in design right now, and hopefully we'll have it out to tender. Our initial date in our contract, our initial date in the contract was to have design out for February, for the end of May. Right now, because of the delay in getting the ISIP funding approved, it's backed us up a bit, but our intention is to have that the tender documents ready for going out in June, and then that work to be completed before it frees up on Tintina Way.
Perfect. Thank you. Hope that answers your question, Rick.
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
Okay. So if it's all right, Mr. Harder, we're going to carry on with the meeting and we'll be in touch.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Thank you very much.
Your worship, for the record, when would you like this table to then?
Can we table it till, well, we might as well bring it up for the next meeting in April.
The first meeting in April?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Is that going to be enough time, Cam?
I will have to clarify, but we'll try as hard as we can to get something to you.
Okay, thanks. Okay, we're moving on then to number 5 on the agenda, which is third and final reading of bylaw 2201, the 2002 O&M budget. I need a motion.
I'll motion to the final reading of the OM budget for 2022 budget.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Councillor Burtis, and thank you, Councillor Hanchar. Any questions or comments?
No.
Just a question. Did you end up or looking into getting the sample scores?
We're working on the funding proposal that closes. I think we have to have it in by, I want to say the 30th. Tiffany's working on it. I don't know the exact date. There's about 4 different projects we're working on funding for. But she's working on the whole package, and I'll get into that in the CEO.
Oh, okay. Okay, awesome. Thanks.
Does that play into the budget somewhere, Cam? You have that recognized?
The funding pot she's applying for is, it would cover what we want to do.
Okay.
And it's part of a bigger, grander whole trail thing, so.
Any more questions?
Oh, thank you.
All in favor? Carried. Thank you, admin, for all your hard work. Number 6, third and final reading of bylaw 2202, the 2022 capital budget.
I'll make a motion for third and final reading of bylaw 2202 for the 2022 capital budget. Lots of twos in there.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Councillor Hanchar. Thank you, Councillor Slager. Any questions, comments? All in favor? Carried. Again, thank you very much for making this very clear and easy and legible for us, and great work. There's a lot of spending to happen in that capital budget, which is exciting because most of it is through funding. Okay, CAO Lockwood.
Sorry, Your Worship, I was just changing screens here. So, yeah, a lot of exciting things. As you might have seen in Facebook, we officially moved the operations of the fire hall into the new municipal services building on Thursday. A momentous occasion. So we're currently trying to get the rest of the non-operational move done. Tyson is working very hard on that front right now. And time is of essence because his last day is Friday with us. So the time crunch is on. So, but it is exciting, and we've been working through with the infrastructure branch, trying to juggle the parts of the deficiency list that they're having trouble with the Johnson Builders with. So Yukon government is currently paying to have all the snow removed from site. And that contract went out, that they did a short invitational tender on that. Ion Kachika picked up the tender, and they're in the process of hauling snow out of there like crazy. Our snow dumps are pretty well full, and we've opened new snow dumps like the end of Francis Avenue. And so now we've opened up the south fire break, and that's where snow is being hauled now. So a massive amount of snow, and this last couple dumps hasn't helped us in that regard. But it's nice to see that that property will be cleared. We also had the snow removed from the CAO house, just to try and eliminate any additional issues over at that residence. And our public works team has been working tirelessly to keep up with where they are, and then get the roads stripped. They nicely get them stripped, and then we get this big dump, and we got to do some more peeling. So they're dealing with that. And then this week took a little turn because there was a death of a community member a week ago, and so now they're trying to get a grave site ready for Friday for a funeral. But if anybody's been out and looked around, we haven't been into the cemetery this winter. And so we've still got 5 feet plus of snow there that they're trying to dig their way into the plot. So it just complicates things a little bit. So the other thing that we're working on a funding proposal for trails upgrades. We've located a federal funding pot, which we can do in phases. And there's different dates on it, but the first phase is to deal with getting consultant in to help with design and stuff. And part of that is the signpost forest for the trail network in there and signage. So that is all part of stuff that will be in this proposal that's going in. And that will allow us to get that consultant hired and get some trail maintenance done, and bring actually contractors in to actually give us better pricing on the costs of doing the upgrades that we're looking at. So that's a whole package that we'll present to council once it's ready to go. And we are still chasing, on the district heat side. I found a funding pot that eligibility for the feasibility, the rest of the feasibility study for the expansion. So we're in the process of writing up application for that funding pot as well to help cushion that blow, because even though I did budget for it in this year's O&M budget, if we can have some other government department pay for those things, it saves the taxpayers a huge amount of money. So we're chasing that as well. You will see that we have numerous jobs advertised right now. I advertised the bylaw position internally, and I've hired Connie Heaney as our bylaw officer. And I have made arrangements for a consultant who is a retired RCMP and head bylaw officer for the city of Whitehorse to come down and actually do one-on-one training with her on all aspects of bylaw enforcement.
That's awesome.
So I think she'll do very well. She's very customer service oriented. She knows everybody in town, and she's actually been dealing with dog complaints already. So I think it's a win-win for us. And she knows the business license side of it. She knows all that. And with the proper mentorship, I think it'll be a win-win for the community, because we haven't been able to staff that position from outside. And this saves us trying to bring somebody in. And I did make an agreement with her that after 6 months, we would reevaluate. And if either party decided that it wasn't working or wasn't what they thought it was going to be, then she can revert to her substantial position. So her position right now is advertised as a term. So I think that's a win-win for us moving forward. The other position that I have advertised is the Director of Public Safety. Charlie is, as we all know, still on long-term disability, and there's no end date in sight. So I cannot leave the municipality without a fire chief or Director of Public Safety, especially now that Tyson is going back to work at Wildland. If Tyson wasn't going back to his other job, I wouldn't have posted the position, because Tyson's doing a wonderful job over there. So unfortunately, I've had to post it to cover the town's liability for a 1-year term. So that's out there too. So we'll see how that all plays out. The other thing that's went out for tender is the public waste drop-off construction. So that went out to tender as of yesterday. So that's moving forward as well. And we're waiting for start dates for the change rooms and the lighting. Both those jobs are held up right now because of the contractors are waiting on supplies to come in so they can start those projects. So of course, everything's delayed because of the situation we've been dealing with for the last 2 years. So hopefully they're quite confident that the supplies should come in fairly quick, but at least those tenders are out there and we've got end dates on them. So hopefully they feel they can live up to them. So which is nice. Other than that, more snow and more snow. And yeah, all we can do is keep plugging away. And then the other thing I want to start looking at is to come up with a date for the open house over at the new municipal services building. I think it's something that, now that COVID restrictions are gone, it would be nice sort of get together, open house, sort of celebration that, life's coming back to normal. I think it would be good to have a community barbecue and everything to get people built.
And the snow melts, ha, ha, ha.
And the snow goes away, so.
We waited a while.
So those are things that I would like to look forward to feedback from mayor and council on dates as when they'd like to see that. April's gonna fly by here pretty quick with Easter in there and those type of things. They'll eat up some time. So maybe we look at the beginning of May for something like that when the weather hopefully is a little more conducive to having the doors open and having an open house.
Sounds great, Cam.
Yeah,
It's
and
exciting.
the other thing that's that I guess I need a response from council on too is that the AYC AGM in Whitehorse as to who's attending. And so we can book hotel rooms and get that all lined up as well. So I'll also follow that AYC stuff up with email to council.
Okay.
Okay.
Great. And we can discuss those dates anytime, really? Right? Okay.
Okay. That's
Okay.
it for now, your worship, unless there's questions later.
Yeah, we'll leave the questions for council open forum if that's okay with everybody. Okay, but yes, thank you very much. CAO Lockwood, lots of great stuff. It's very exciting to have that municipal services building opened. Just the sheer volume of questions surrounding it. That's great. Number 8 is the admin report for the water consumption leak detecting equipment. My assumption is you want an answer from mayor and council on this, CAO Lockwood?
Yes, your worship. We are hemorrhaging water from our distribution system. The money was set aside in the 2021 capital budget for purchase of piping and stuff to do with the distribution system. So all we're doing is diverting from the purchase of the piping and the fire hydrants that we could not get due to COVID supply issues, diverting that money into the purchase of leak detection equipment. So that way we can locate these leaks and actually put a stop to it and start saving the municipality money. Because we're gonna have issues like this year, we've had all these leaks coming to surface. So all these digs in the wintertime, of course, aren't very handy and expensive, very expensive to fix. So if we can locate them and get them fixed when the ground is thawed and put a stop to the loss of the treated water and actually be on top of the game would be a huge benefit for the municipality.
Mm-hmm. Is there any questions or comments from council regarding this equipment?
Sorry, I have is, I'm just trying to read through it. I don't understand the equipment, but how good of it is like detecting, like can it pinpoint it to a fairly?
Yes, it'll get it down to within, from what I'm told, it'll get us within maybe 10 feet of where the
Oh,
lake
okay,
is.
that's what I was making sure, because it's
Yeah.
not like it's in Watson Lake and then, okay, thanks. Like, that's all.
Yeah, your worship, we looked at other types of leak detection and there's some really spectacular technology out there now. And a lot of it's satellite driven but it's geared more to big cities like Calgary and Hamilton are using it. But they've got miles and
That's right.
hundreds of miles of infrastructure and it'll pinpoint it to like a city block. But
That's what I was
but
worried
a
about.
city block for them that's a huge saving.
That's right.
But for us, a city block for us, well, that's taken up a quarter of the
That's
town,
right,
so
that's right. That's what-
it's not pleasable to this. This will get us down to the lines.
Oh,
And the
okay.
guys, our staff will be able to start working from the water treatment plant, from the distribution and work their way out and see where it is. and
Okay.
Work their way down, so they can do street by street type thing.
Oh, nice, okay.
What's the longevity of it? Like, is it something that we can use for many years? Is it
Yes,
something
it's
that,
electronic equipment that'll last us for 20 years if our staff look after it.
is there specific training that's required for it or anything?
This training actually comes, there's training that's provided with it. I'm not sure if it's an online tutorial or if it's in person, but there is training as part of it.
And who would be trained to use it?
Our water utility staff.
Just the two?
No, and we'll probably train some public works. but
Okay.
That's, the key guys are the water utilities because that's their department, that's their house to deal with.
Okay.
Questions? Thank you for this report. Based on this report and the conversation we had at the last meeting, I'm prepared to make the motion.
Go ahead.
So I'll make a motion to approve the purchase of the leak detection equipment in the amount of $36,000.
I'll second.
Thank you, Councilor Hanchar. Thank you, Councilor Burtis. Was there any other questions or comments?
Nope, you're good.
No,
All in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. Next, we have number 9 as the proclamation for the COVID mandates. Is there any discussion or questions or comments around this? Okay.
I just,
Look at this here.
I don't know.
What do they want us to do with this? Sorry.
Your worship, from administration, I think it's sort of a moot point because the Yukon government has removed all the sanctions that they're referring to.
So I just want to interject there and just say that they have removed the mandates for their staff members. So any allied health and any contractors, anything like that, those people are still bound by the mandates. So that's not fully true. So, I mean, that was my first thought as well. I thought, okay, well, they've removed the mandate, you know, it's a non-issue now, but it's not, because it's still affecting a lot of people, like teachers allowed to go back, and like Yukon government people are allowed to go back, but, you know, nurses aren't, and anybody, you know, allied health, so clinics and I presume personal services of whatever kind are not. So I don't think that it's over. I don't think that it's a non-issue. Whether we release a public statement or, and what that even should say, like I am torn and I go back and forth on this a lot. So I don't really know how the rest of council feels about it. I don't think that it's something that we should just write off yet. I don't know, maybe we need to have a further conversation about it or what, but that's kind of where I'm at.
And I agree, because the government can make a blanket statement, but every department within that government also has their own criteria. So for continuing care, we are still mandated to be vaccinated and still mandated to mask. So that's where, like I say, every department is different.
Yeah.
So from the position that we are in and the services that we provide to the community, the mandates are becoming less and less, let's say, dominant on what people can and cannot do within our community. You know, we only have control over what would be the rec center, our own staff, and what else would there be surrounding that? I think that's about it. So, you know, I think we should definitely come up with an answer to this, and maybe we should set a deadline for that, because if the Yukon government isn't going to move on it, then we should either, you know, have a decision of our own to follow, because it is, I think I agree with Councillor Hanchart and Councillor Paquette that it's not over with completely, but we want to make sure that we're not being divisive, and we want to, you know, support the greater good of our community. So I would just say that we can table this one more time to the first meeting of April, where we will have a decision to move forward, if everybody's okay with that.
That sounds good to me.
Cam, has the mandate for the Rexplex, has that changed then with this as well?
The rec center is fully open.
Fully open now, okay,
Yes.
perfect.
No restrictions for the rec center, any of the town-owned facilities. There's no restrictions on any events in our facilities anymore.
Okay, awesome. Because the Rexplex was the only one at the time that had the restrictions, so that's why I just wanted to clarify
Yeah.
that. Okay.
And like you said, every government department's doing their own thing. Like the library still has a mask mandate, but that's a library in-house thing that they've done through their library board. So everyone is different. So yes, yeah. So we'll table it, your worship, to the April 5th meeting.
Yep.
And
And then we can put out a blanket statement from mayor and council, because we'll have a decision by then.
okay.
Sound good with everybody?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Moving right along. Councillor Open Forum. Who would like to go first?
I just got a question about the funding for the Northern Lights Center that we're trying to get at. If there's
Yeah.
any move on that.
I think I spoke in the last meeting, your worship. There's been emails back and forth asking clarity for questions,
Yeah.
but we haven't got a firm answer. Our community advisor, Mike Prouse, is in the room tonight. So I've spoke with Mike today. He's actually going to do some internal checks with CDF when he gets back to Whitehorse to see where that process is at.
Okay, thank you.
Nothing new with lands? Haven't heard anything about lands?
No, your worship, there's no updates.
Okay, thank you.
Counselor Hencher.
Thank you. One of my points was I was going to ask about the open house at the municipal services building, but CAO Lockwood already addressed that. I think it's a good idea. I think we should do that. Looking forward to it. I just have a question about this in-ground infrastructure project, phase 1. You know, obviously this Tintina thing has, you know, the issue with the Tintina Way is going to probably hopefully tie into this. But so all along we've been told that phase 1 is approved. Phase 1 is going ahead. Phase 1, phase 1, phase 1. When do we find out what exactly phase 1 is or entails? I guess the reason I'm asking that is because how is it possible to plan, put tenders out, et cetera, when we have no idea what that phase is made up of? Okay, so when will we be privy to that?
Well, this was for his workshop tonight.
Okay.
Not in town, so.
So that was one of my questions, just because I feel like, you know, we're reading like the budget that just came out from the government and, you know, just other conversations that are going around. And I'm just curious. My other question is, you know, because originally, sorry, I'm all over the place. Originally, we were told that it was going to be approximately $11 million, I believe. Just a side thought, I don't even know if anybody here can answer this, but are those tenders protected from inflation? So, you know, if the cost goes up due to inflation, supply, whatever, does our project get clawed back, or are they going to cover the rest of the cost?
Okay.
Because, so, sorry, that's my first point.
Okay, your worship, I'll try to answer that question. So, so we do have the service agreement is in front of me. I received it for his worship to sign tonight. And so it is for phase 1, water, sewer, and road upgrade service agreement. The work plan may be changed from time to time by the Yukon as the project progresses. For the greater certainty, any changes made in the work plan are not amendments of the agreement. So project scope of work. Town of Watson Lake phase 1, water, sewer, and road upgrade. This project involves rehabilitating sewer lines, drinking water lines, and road surfaces in Watson Lake. The project scope includes replacing 1,262 meters of sewer line, 1,563 meters of transmission pipes, which means water lines, and 16,300 meters of road surface
So they're going to do the road resurfacing.
at the end.
Okay,
So they'll get it.
sorry, I was under the impression you were reading phase 1.
This is phase 1. This is
Like they're doing
phase 1.
So, okay, so
There's more than
all the
one.
work and then paving or resurfacing in phase 1 for whatever they did in phase 1.
Well, yes.
Sorry, I was just under the impression that they were gonna like, hopefully, in a perfect world, that we would do all of the ground infrastructure and then resurface everything. But that makes sense now that it's like that because one phase can't be contingent on the other, right?
Yes, and phase 1 is covering almost all of our in-ground infrastructure. So phase 1 will be done in phase 1 could be done over a period of 4 years.
That is not what we were told at the
I know.
beginning.
So,
That is incredibly frustrating.
but, so your worship, where the reason is that the we're stretched into an extra year on this whole mess is because of the delay with the ISIP funding. So I'll read the schedule as well as part of the next part of the question here. So, so the preliminary design just started. So design is supposed to be ready for 95% by the end of May 2022. Issue for tender documents, they were aiming for the end of May 2022, with the tender being issued at the end of the tender for $6 million being issued the end of May 2022.
Also 6 million is quite a bit less than 11.
Yes, but there's more than that part, your worship.
Okay, sorry.
Engineering is $1 million of that project. So that's $1 million. $6 million for the construction of the tender. And then council must remember that council approved reallocation of $3 million of that to the lift station for Francis Avenue. So that when you're done with the management fees and everything, that comes to the $11 million for the project for phase 1.
I think that, if I may, we should decide some time to go over all the details of this CAO Lockwood, so we can have a very clear picture amongst everybody and make sure we're all on page, because it is a huge project, and I know many of the constituents are very interested to know what's happening. And as well, I believe YG has some discussions surrounding the payment for this. So I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page and we have the exact same details in our head.
In your worship, and it's scheduled for total completion. Substantial completion of the project is scheduled for the fall of 2023. So which is, they knew that they could only do Tintina and some road work on some streets that don't have underground this year due to the time frame of getting everything, the tender documents and design done. And then the rest is slated for substantial completion for the fall of next year. And then the total performance, which would be, if there's holdback due to some issues with road work or whatever, the final completion of phase 1 would be in 2024. Because it's all weather dependent and everything. So, but I have the full service agreement for council, and everybody can read through it, and it lays out where all the funding is actually coming from for the project. So.
Okay, good. Yeah, I was actually on Councillor Hanchar's side, where I thought this was a different scope or different timeline. And, I was under the impression it would be, in a perfect world, all the water, then all the sewer, then the roads.
Yeah.
I also thought it was 4-phase. So I thought, water was phase 1, sewer was phase 2, etc. So.
Your worship. So when
also my question would be, if phase 1 gets done, how do we ensure phase 2 and phase 3 get done? Because those will be different funding.
That is correct. And so far that goes towards that letter that in your discussions with MP Hanley about those next funding pots, right? So, but when they're opening the roads, where we open the road, when we open up a road, we're doing the water, sewer, curb stops all in one go on a block, like a street, right?
Yep.
So that way we don't have to come back and re-dig the same street to do a water line, right?
No, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
It makes
When Tintina's done this fall, Tintina will have a new sewer line, new water line, and new curb stops. And unfortunately, it won't have chip seal on top because we're not bringing a crew in to do, one little block of chip seal. Unfortunately, it'd be gravel until we can have enough to bring a chip seal crew in, right? But we can go through the finer details once you guys read the agreement.
Okay.
So the plan for chip seal everywhere, or is there going to be any pavement anywhere?
Yeah, I think I'll just, sorry, Councillor Paquette, but I think we can, we'll sit down, I think, as a group and just go over all those details so we don't have every single question right now. Once we read those documents, then we'll probably answer a lot of our own questions. Does that sound fair?
Yeah, and sorry, CAO.
Yeah.
I didn't realize you had that document there, and I just,
That's okay. Thank you.
frustrating.
Okay, so we will have a lot more discussion around this. Where it's an exciting project and we want to make sure it's done properly for everybody. Thank you, Councillor Hanchar, for the question. Any other questions?
I didn't have any more questions, but we had one more point that we wanted to bring up to council open forum. And that is the use of the former CAO residents, but now town of Watson Lake staff residents in holding, I guess. The use of that potentially for Councillor Slager and his family, as I'm sure you all know, and probably everybody in the gallery know, that they suffered a tremendous loss in the last week. Unfortunately, they are now back in the community and currently staying in somebody's basement, which is not really ideal for a family of their size right now. So our question, well, my question to CAO Lockwood is, what is the state of the town residents? And then my question to council is, how we feel as a group about potentially allowing them to, I guess, basically rent that residence short term. Of course, that will require a motion and whatnot, but we can obviously need to have a discussion beforehand. So I just want to put that out on the table. Obviously, I think that, anyway, sorry, let's just go ahead. Oh, just wait a minute.
So your worship, the CAO house is currently vacant. It has fridge, stove, washer, dryer, and dishwasher in it. It is empty now. It was part of the planning of administration when we advertised the director of public safety position, because we know that we're gonna have to have somebody come into the community. But I don't foresee having anybody in that position for probably 2 months. By the time it closes and we do interviews and we have somebody relocate or come to the community for and contract negotiated. So I could see that for sure 2 months, the town does not have anybody that would be in need of being in the residence from staffing side.
My only other concern was that because they would be paying rent, they would essentially be a tenant. Is the town of Watson Lake then bound by the Landlord Tenant Act to give them adequate notice for them to be out? Or is there a way that there can be some kind of arrangement made ahead of time so that they know, like, when the position's filled, they got to go, there might not be that much notice, et cetera? Or do we just say 2 months flat timeframe?
That I honestly can't answer, your worship, because the minute we do get rent, then it does fall under the Landlord Tenant Act, where you have to give notice unless you're doing a short-term rental that with a date stipulated that could be reassessed on a month-to-month basis, I guess. But that's a decision for council.
The only other side note to that I was going to make is that the more I think about it, the more I wonder if, as a municipality, we have to abide by those rules, just because I know that the Arthur's Nation and Yukon government don't. They fall into a different category. So, like, I recall at the Yukon Housing meeting asking, do the Yukon government have to abide by the Landlord Tenant Act? And they said no, because it was their document or whatever, that it didn't apply. Anyway, so I just wonder as a level of government in itself, if the municipality was like have to abide.
Well, I guess probably the difference in between Yukon Housing and their staff housing and us is the fact that Councillor Slager is a councillor, but he's not technically an employee of the town on the payroll, right?
Right.
Mhm.
Sorry.
I'm just for the record, I'm not against this. I just want to say that the only thing I wanted to bring to the table is the fact that I have a position that I need to fill, and that was the only, as we all know, rental in this town is, if I hire somebody and I don't have a house to put them in, then I'm not hiring somebody, right? So I just wanted to be clear that that was the only thing that I'm concerned about.
And I totally agree with that. And honestly, that was probably one of the first things that crossed my mind as well, was whether or not it was appropriate and whether or not whatever. But I do think that this is like an unprecedented situation where like I can't even imagine. So yeah, I think it's not something we've ever come across before and hopefully never have, come across again. And I think going into it, we would hopefully all parties would be under the understanding that, it is short term. And as soon as you do fill that position that, we need that house for this potential staff member.
Yeah, I guess the hope, it is unprecedented, but it would be no different than if somebody's house burnt down. Right? Right, so there could be more, it's not a one-off, it's just a one-off due to the snow or the collapse. It's not a one-off, more than a one-off on other things. So, no, I feel for the situation.
From my perspective, I mean, I would buy the house off the town if that was a possibility. Any short-term rent, I mean, we have places to stay right now, but I don't want to inconvenience them. However, we are kind of stuck between a rock and a snowbank. And so like, if we had the opportunity to live in there short-term, and if you needed the house, I'm sure that our gracious host would welcome us back. If it meant having a fire chief or not having a fire chief, I'm sure that would be a possibility, or we would find, we could figure something out. But temporarily, I would be like eternally grateful to have a place to call my home.
I would just like to say that I am in favor of the situation of Thomas being able to use that. The difficulty I have is, that is technically the community's house. And like Cam is saying, it is a very unfortunate situation. Don't get me wrong. But if we set the precedence that it's available for this kind of situation, then it becomes available for everybody in their situation. And that's a difficult situation, right? So that's a point I wanted to just make. And I agree with you, Thomas. I think that there can be a very equitable contract or agreement set between yourself and CAO Lockwood for the use of that house. I would just also like to raise the point of the absurd lack of housing in our community, that there's not another solution. There's no other options. It's quite unfortunate. So those are my comments, but if we need to make a motion to support Councillor Slager in the CAO house, or I guess it's the townhouse, we'll call it the townhouse. I need a motion from council that would also include some sort of contract agreement.
I probably have to abstain from this one.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
But have to abstain.
I think
Thank you,
I'm remove myself from here, so I'll.
Thank you. So we can continue this conversation and let's make a motion, because it is, time is of the essence. I think that a motion such that Councillor Slager can seek accommodation with the townhouse upon approval of a contract with the CAO. I do believe it should be something along the lines of a month-by-month basis, because we need that house. But he's also going to be paying rent, so it's an income.
Yes, Your Worship, and Community Affairs could look into seeing what's going on in other municipalities about how that they deal with it, if they do have to deal with those kind of situations. So.
Yeah, we just have to make sure we're, this isn't the solution all the time. It just can't be.
Tough one for sure, because I totally agree with what you just said, and it's hard because you don't want to set that precedent, but at the same time, he is a counselor.
Mhm.
I've been a counselor for
And been one for a long time.
years.
This is a crazy circumstance. And I think you hit the nail on the head, Mayor, that, the lack of housing options in this town is crazy. And that's like the real issue, the real point. And that's, that we really need to get after harder as well.
And we all want to support our coworker, basically.
Absolutely.
So I'm sure we can come to a very reasonable contract. But I
Yeah.
do believe we should have some, we just want to cover everybody's situation.
Yeah.
Cover everything that the town of Watson Lake can be liable for and Councillor Slager can be liable for, and make sure that we're not going to put ourselves in an ugly position. We want it to be clear. We want it to be very concise and make sure that everybody understands what has to happen in order to use that house.
So I guess that being said, I will make a motion to, I'm going to try and word this the way you worded this, to allow the Slager family to have accommodation in the townhouse. What was the other part?
Contract.
The contract? How do you want that worded? Sorry.
On a month-to-month.
On a month-to-month basis, a month-to-month contract with administration, set up with administration. Sorry, that was worded poorly.
But maybe we can, thank you, Councillor Hanchar. Can I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Councillor Burtis. Any more questions or comments?
I just think that it's, even if it was only for 2 months, it gives them an opportunity to be able to sort of settle their affairs, sort things out, find something else that's out there potentially. So people tend to move in the spring, like when people are moving, hopefully there'll be something will open up for them.
Because it is sort of hard with 8 people and I know your house is big, but it's a lot of people.
A lot of people, but so far, we're not stepping on
Yeah.
anybody's toes.
No,
so
I know.
So sorry, guys, for the sake of the motion, you're all in favor?
Yes.
Okay, so carried. Then the contract can also, maybe we can see that contract. CAO Lockwood?
Yes, your worship.
Okay. Just because we just want to make sure everybody's on the same page and that it's not something that we just decided was, yep, go ahead, move on in. Right?
Yes.
Right.
Okay. That's great, everybody. You can call Councillor Slager back in.
Thank you, Mike.
I was going to say something about AYC, but I don't have my notes in front of me, so we'll see it next time.
Sounds good. I would like to say Councillor Slager, I'm very sorry for your loss. That is a horrible situation. I hope you can find some solutions in the near future. It's a tough one. But yeah, so we'll carry on. If everybody's okay with that. We don't have anything for Councillor Open or for in camera.
Did any of you guys have anything? I'm sorry, I
No.
talked the whole time.
No.
Okay.
In respect to,
Councilor Open Forum.
I think I went around the table.
Oh,
for
sorry.
Councillor.
Okay,
I'm good, thank you.
thanks.
Okay, and we don't have anything for in camera. So with that, adjournment, please.
I'll motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Thank you, everybody.
Your worship, you'll stay on for a few minutes, please?
Yeah, yep.
I'm gonna stop the recording.
Okay.